Tonight, we have reporters across the country in a number of battleground states where economic issues are top of mind. On immigration and business, Contessa Brewer is in Nogales, Arizona. On housing, Diana Olick is in Port St. Lucie, Florida. But we begin with Scott Cohn in Raleigh, North Carolina, where more than just the presidency is at stake in the Tar Heel state.
All roads to the White House go through Raleigh. Donald Trump with an afternoon rally.
We are going to win the great state of North Carolina. And we are going to win back the White House.
While Hillary Clinton plans a midnight rally, her running mate and her husband crisscrossing the state beforehand. It's not just the 15 electoral votes at stake or a potentially pivotal U.S. Senate race. The North Carolina governor's race, the closest in the country, is a referendum on the state's controversial law signed by Governor Pat McCrory restricting transgender people's use of public bathrooms.
HB 2, the controversial law, has been blamed for close to $500 million.
Opponents say the law, which also bars local anti-discrimination ordinances, is costing the state billions in business.
Putting such a negative brand on the state is going to turn young professionals, events, performers away for not just this year, but years to come.
Democratic challenger Roy Cooper wants to overturn the law, but proponents say there are more important things than alleged lost business.
Roy Cooper's bathroom plan. What does it mean to you?
There's no way you can put a price on the safety of one little girl in a bathroom who's sexually assaulted by a man who gains entrance to that bathroom by dressing as a woman. And that's what's at stake here. North
Carolina is one of 12 states choosing governors on Tuesday, and in each one, business competitiveness is front and center. The Democratic candidate in Missouri promising to make it a top 10 state for business by cutting taxes, while his Republican challenger vows to fight corruption. The Republican in West Virginia promising to cut red tape, while the Democrat vows to recruit business in person. Of course, no matter whom the voters choose in any of those states, they'll find themselves in the mercy of what happens in Washington in the race for the White House. And what happens there may depend on what happens here. Scott Cohn, Nightly Business Report, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Now to Diana Olick in Port St. Lucie, Florida.
In the tradition community in Port St. Lucie, Florida, the local economy is still recovering from the Great Recession. Homes here sell for half of what they did a decade ago. 1 in 5 homeowners are still underwater on their mortgages today, and memories are very short.
My parents went through it. I watched them go through all of it, and I was here.
Nicole, who didn't want to give her last name, is a new mother who is sitting out this election.
There's just so much, I guess, controversy on both sides of it. I don't know who I would vote for this year, to be honest.
But sitting at a bench nearby preparing for a job interview, MJ said she already voted for Donald Trump.
The Clintons seem to be interested in their own financial future, and Mr. Trump seems to be interested in the country's financial future.
Early voting ended Sunday night in Florida, and a record 6 million ballots were cast. 39% were by registered Republicans, 40% by Democrats. That does not, however, mean those voters chose along party lines. What we do know is that Hispanic voters, who make up an outsized 17% of Florida's electorate, voted early with a vengeance. Juan Dyer already cast his vote.
Donald Trump hasn't been a favorite for Latin voters, and I think they just wanted to prove it. So they wanted to prove it in the numbers.
So did this couple, who did not want to be named.
What's going to happen if Trump gets in?
Wow.
Get it?
I don't want to say nothing about him, but I have bad words for him. So.
But yeah, you understand? I don't like to trash anybody, but that's how I feel. Yeah. You're asking me. I feel that way.
Yeah, me too.
Most analysts agree that Donald Trump cannot win the White House without Florida. The math just doesn't work. As of now, the race in this state is razor close, and as with everywhere else, turnout will be key. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Diana Olick in Port St. Lucie County, Florida.
Next, Contessa Brewer in Nogales, Arizona.
A miles-long fence separates Nogales, Arizona from Nogales, Mexico. On the U.S. side, little more than 22,000 people live. On the Mexican side, more than 220,000. Spanish is the predominant language on both sides of the border. And Donald Trump's characterization of Mexican immigrants as rapists and drug dealers made its mark.
Is there no part of you that is a little worried about his perception of Latinos in America?
No. Since I'm not a drug dealer, I'm not a rapist, and I'm also from Mexico, so it doesn't bother me a bit.
Mike Melendez imports arts and crafts from Mexico. He's seen his profits plummet because of declining tourism and the strength of the dollar against the peso. Still, he doesn't have a problem with Donald Trump's stand against NAFTA and free trade.
If Mr. Trump gets elected and he puts like a fee of, I don't know, maybe 20%, 30%, I will just be getting less of a profit, because Mexican goods they have a lot of profit, a lot of margin.
Melendez was a Democrat until little more than a year ago. Now he's a Republican running for county supervisor and sharing his shop space with the state Republican Party. The Arizona GOP has set up headquarters in Nogales for the first time ever to woo Hispanic voters. They have an uphill climb. The Democrats have been a steady presence in Nogales.
We're Latinos, and I think the other party, it's not like they're not supporting a lot of Latinos. They're not caring about how is the city here.
More than 90% of the population here is Latino. The Democrat Party is so dominant that in 2008, when Arizona's own Senator John McCain was on the presidential ballot, Santa Cruz County went for Barack Obama 72% to 27%. And times are tough here. Empty storefronts, unemployment at 12.6%, declining tourism, and a weak peso against the dollar. Small business owners say their profits are down 40% from last year.
If Trump does win, it's going to kill whatever Nogales has left over.
And Donald Trump's insistence that he'd build a wall doesn't go over well in this state. An Arizona Republic poll shows 42% said one should definitely not be built, while 27% said it definitely should be built.
But that's not the driving issue here. After all, they already have a wall. Both Democrats and Republicans are peddling the promise of prosperity. The question is, who's better positioned to deliver the American dream? For Nightly Business Report, Contessa Brewer, Nogales, Arizona.